All right. I'm sitting here with an icon to me, somebody that I truly respect um, in every which way. Uh, I'm here with Mr. Charles Turner. It's been somebody I watched over the years. I listen to, I respect. Um, so it's a pleasure and an honor to have this interview today with you.
Thank you.
Right. Just to let the people know, um, how long was you in law enforcement?
Almost 30 years,
Man, that's beautiful. And what year did you start law enforcement?
1975.
1975. And around that time, it was still a lot going on between the racial division, right?
Well, somewhat. When I came on the department, there was 9 black deputies out of about 400 to 500 deputy sheriffs, and there was 9 of them were black when I came on the department.
So 900 black officers out of 400?
No, 9. Yeah, 9 black deputy
Right,
sheriffs out of four to
right.
five hundred.
And
Yes.
at that time, was black men just trying not to be cops, or they couldn't be? Like, what? Why do you think a lot of black men wasn't cops at the time?
Well, I think that one thing, I don't think they were recruiting them as hard as they should have.
Right,
That's one of the problems. And as you start to recruit minorities, and not just blacks but other minorities for the department, you get more and more people that will apply, and they will get hired by the department.
right. What kind of job was you doing before you became a cop?
It was quite a few things. Number one, I was drafted in the Army in 1966 through 68. That was through the Vietnam War. And then after I got out of there, then I worked at Aerojet General. It was a rocket industry, and I worked there for about 11 years. And then I had various other jobs. I managed a grocery store, worked for Sears, and a couple of other places.
That's dope. What made you get into law enforcement?
My brother-in-law. My
Oh,
brother-in-law got into law enforcement, and he told me about it, and he told me that I should apply. I applied, scored on the test, and went through the academy.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. What was some of the good things about becoming a black officer in the 1970s?
Well, one thing for me, it's a job that I really love doing.
Right.
I was able to help a lot of people, solve a lot of community problems while I was out there on patrol. I was able to get into recruitment, hire a lot of minorities, both females, males, Asians, Hispanics, and other races. So I was able to do a lot of good things for the department, as well as uh, me and another deputy developed a program called the OK program out in Rancho Cordova, and that helped young black males become more efficient in navigating their lives through becoming productive young men.
Yes, I remember in the barber shop one time, a few kids knew who you were because of that program.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so a few kids knew you because of that. And I was like, Mr. Charles, it was like, yeah, I was in this program. So that was beautiful. Was there any hard hiccups becoming a black officer? Like, was there too much bad things you had to face, or it was just the norm?
Well, no, there was quite a few hiccups when I was going through the training, and I think that uh, black deputies, but it's not just black deputies. Me and my wife were just talking about that today. We were talking about how um, people today, um, 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 coaches for the NFL, how they might get a job working as a coach, a head coach in the NFL, last one year, do the have be very successful that year. They might even go to the to the process, the second process, and when they get through, they lose their jobs. So that happens all the time. So it doesn't just happen in law enforcement. It's something problem that we have throughout our community.
Right, definitely. I believe that more black men should be law enforcement. Why do you think our community, we kind of like push the narrative that we shouldn't be cops when we need more cops in place that are black? We need more lawyers that are black. Why do you think the black community tries to not raise their kids and push them into law enforcement?
Well, law enforcement has had a negative a negative uh, thing with law enforcement. Blacks have had problems in that area. So maybe that's why that has happened. I don't know if it's happening, if they're pushing them away as much now as they used to. And then maybe they are. I can't answer that question, but I do know that we have a lot of people that are applying now. And as they apply, what I found is as you apply for the job in law enforcement, and I'm speaking about black men, they will get hired. They will do very well, and a lot of them will become chiefs, captains, lieutenants, sergeants, things like that.
Right, right, right. That's beautiful. Yeah, cause like when I met your son, he was a great influence. He was one of the first cops that I ever knew, and I used to ask him what makes him so different. He was telling me based on the teachings he had from you and what he learned from you, it made him a better person. Because I didn't believe he was a cop. He was too normal, and I didn't believe coming from where I came from, cops can be like that. So
Police are very normal, believe me.
no, I mean,
And
because my every time I run into a cop, it was one way, and
yeah,
when I ran into him, it was like he treated me like a normal person. He act normal. I didn't even know he was a cop. He was just so normal, and I never seen that from the TV screen to my front door. What was it in you that left work at work and you was a normal person, or being able to teach him to be a better cop like that?
well, I think that with my son, and he's now a sergeant with the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, and he grew up in a normal household. When we had, as he was growing up, I was coach of his little league baseball team for 11 years, and I always became involved in his education and things like that. And he did the same thing with his son.
Right, definitely. Yeah, he definitely does. Do you think that do you think that's a great field for more black men to jump in?
Oh, definitely. I
Right.
would recommend it and I would, one of the things I recommend for all minorities, all young black men is education, because everybody thinks that if you get into law enforcement, you have to know how to shoot a gun or wrestle somebody down, and that's not where it is.
Right.
It's all about getting a good education, learn how to write, learn your English and things like that, and you will do well in law enforcement. But you have to develop that kind of curriculum.
Right. Do you got a law enforcement story for us? Whether it's funny, whether it was whatever, scary or anything, do you have a law enforcement story? Or you don't remember none right now?
Oh, geez, I have so many law enforcement stories. But you do have to be careful.
Right.
I guess maybe my big law enforcement story is that um, when I was working the beats, I was always made sure that I did things the proper way. There was one time that there was an armed robbery that had happened, and I responded to the call. There was I, instead of responding over to where the robbery was happening, I responded. I saw a little coffee shop, and I pulled in there, and there was people in there, and I walked in. It was right across the street from the robbery, and so when I walked in, everybody looked up from their coffee, and then they went right back down to what they're doing, except one guy. One guy walked over to me. How you doing, officer? How's it going? And I said, going fine. But it made me look at him, and I ended up just telling that guy I had to, that he looked like somebody that just committed a robbery, patted him down, he had a gun on him. And that just gives you an example of how you have to be aware, use good common sense, look for things out of the ordinary,
Right.
things like that.
Man, that was crazy. That was that a shocker? That was like, man.
I didn't expect to find a gun, but there was a gun in his waistband.
Man.
Yeah. So, and I know a few incidences like that happen. So yeah, there's I could go war stories, and like a lot of my deputy friends can go through war stories after war stories that we find when we're out on patrol.
Me doing armed security, we think about women being more need to be protected, but there was a few incidents where women was just as crazy as men. Have you ever encountered where you you sometimes you have to watch a woman just as much as you have to watch a man?
Yes, you do. But it just all depends. But one of the things that, of course, one of the more dangerous things for officers is when there's a dispute inside the home, husband-wife dispute. You're there because she called,
Right.
and as soon as you get in some kind of confrontation with him, she's all of a sudden on his side. So you really have to
Right.
watch those kind of situations.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation where you knew the woman was lying because she was mad, but you had to put this man in jail?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that and them is hard situations, but you have to let the court deal with it.
Well, it just depends on the situation.
Okay, so sometimes you can be like, nah, this ain't right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up.
If you use good common sense, you have to use good common sense. Don't make the guy the bad guy, especially if he's not being the bad guy.
Right.
So it's good common sense for us, and that's what law enforcement officers have to use, good common sense.
Yeah, I promote law enforcement. Well, thank you, Mr. Charles. This is the first of many, and man, I appreciate you.
Very good.